Happy Tuesday, y'all. Today we are going to be talking about the #1 mechanic you are not using in college football 26 and why you need it in your arsenal yesterday, because this is going to make blocking every blitz in the game infinitely easier. I'm going to explain everything you need to know, so make sure you're subscribed to the channel. It's absolutely free. Hit that notification bell, get out your pen and pad, and let's get after it. So we've all faced a mug blitz. There's a litany of them. Double mug, 4-3 even, 6-1, 3-4, really any defense in the game where you can show blitz, get a bunch of players lined up across the line of scrimmage, and then that pesky user comes down and stands in between the offensive linemen just to make the offensive line dumb out. You try to block 6, they send 6, a guy still comes in. You try to slide protect it, it still comes in. You try to ID the mic, it still comes in. And you say to yourself, I blocked 6, they sent 6. Why is this not working? So we're gonna call a little bit of a double mug. This is pretty meta, #1 defense every single year at the start of the year. There's a lot of different ways to run it. Essentially, it comes down to this. You're going to basically send everybody, and then you're going to stand in different spots so that way there's multiple players that have flame logos over their head. Now, blocking the running back will make it so he will basically look at somebody, but as you can see, there's still a red line that is pointing to my user, and this is what makes this so difficult for so many players, is that if you, with your user at the snap, actually take a step at the offensive line, this will oftentimes drag that player that is targeting you into the middle and allow the other flame logo to come in free. In other words, the better way to explain this is that while I'm only sending 6, I'm commanding 7 targets, and that's an issue because you're only blocking 6. So you only have 6 targets for basically 7 players that are occupying them. And that's why the guy comes in free. And no matter how you slide protect it, there's still gonna be an extra player that's got a flame logo because I'm being targeted as a defensive user on the field. So it doesn't matter if you slide protect left or right or put the ID the mic, there's still gonna be somebody looking at me. And that might include your running back looking at me as well. So what we wanna do is introduce the untarget feature. Now, before I introduce the untarget feature, I just want to let you know that I dropped my launch defensive game plan out of the 3-3-5 playbook, and the 3 high odd is my base defensive formation. This defense is chock full of loop pressures, edge pressures, interior gap pressures with your defensive ends and your defensive tackles, hybrid coverages, all the match coverages you could ever want to run in the game, and so much more. So if you guys are struggling to get stops in college football 26, make sure you guys go check it out. It is all included with your membership. You guys can get my Rice offensive game plan, my match coverage rules defensive game plan, the 3-3-5 3 high odd defensive game plan, and well over 35 vault tips in the first week of the game being out, with so much more to come as we get full on into college football 26. Go check it out. Deal is on the website right now. So how do we utilize the untarget feature? Well, it's really simple. So let's set up that same blitz again, and we're going to press and hold left bumper or L1 on the offensive controller. And you can see that even when I block a running back, because I still need 6 to block 6, there is a flame logo on someone on the field, but it's not my user. So in wherever I move, this is the problem, is I can move the free runner based off of how much I move my player. So if I'm standing here, it's the right edge that's going to come in free. If I stand in that magic spot that I'm in right here, now it's that interior gap rusher. So there's a lot of issues with this. Well, take a look at the right side of your screen. You see that the Y button triangle on PlayStation has untarget defender? What we're going to do is we're going to hit that button, and now the flame logo is movable. We can move it to any one of these players. Well, think about how players play this game. We like to come down with our user and stand over the lineman to occupy the lineman, right? So we dumb those guys out. The untarget defender tells the AI blockers, don't worry about this guy, period. So what that means is when I select him, now when we pull back up our targeting, everybody has a target that is not the user. Now, there is some downside to this, and we'll get to that momentarily. But when I go to strafe in front of the center and confuse him, they don't care. And now we're in a spot where I can then set up my man beater. Everybody blocks the person. There's a hat for a hat. The 6-on-6 count is correct. And all we had to do was untarget the user. So then from there, if it's man coverage, set up your man beaters. If it's zone coverage, set up your zone combo. But you see right here that every single person got a body on their target. Now, of course, that doesn't mean that you can't get shed. It just means that we picked up the blitz until the block shed timer went out. throw your hot reads, obviously set up your man beaters on this play accordingly. But this isn't just useful for mud blitzes where everybody is in the box congesting lanes. This is also useful for finesse blitzes as well. So let's take, for instance, a blitz that players used to run quite a bit, which would be the loop blitz meta. This would be your crossfire blitz from last year. As you recalled, last year, a lot of players would run this left to right A-gap blitz. They would set up a cover 4 shell behind it, put their user down here over this side to occupy the left side of the line. And a lot of times this would actually just come in, and still this year it kind of does. It'll still A-gap you a fair amount. So free ball, you should know this already, but this blitz still works. But a large part of that is simply due to the fact that we're occupying the left side of the line. So take a look what happens right here when I take the untarget icon and I move it down to the user instead. We snap the ball, and you see that there's a much better attempt at blocking that looper. Now, again, loop blitzes are still good. So there are things that you can do. One of the things that we talked about last year, and this is just stuff that you'll learn about the game in general, is that if we did a double team on the left of screen defensive end, that would actually make it so they targeted the looper better. So what you would see is an untarget defender on the user, a double team on the left looper. Now you see that that right guard is looking directly at that player. So now you can visually see this when you take a look at your play art by holding the left bumper or L1 if you're on PlayStation to know that you're in a much better spot with this blitz pickup. So we snap this ball and you see that it dumps out. It just doesn't work. And I throw my sail pattern, and 25 yards later, we're into the red zone, first down and goal. So use the untarget feature. The user typically is always out there standing in a spot and attempts to confuse the offensive line so pressure works. A lot of times just putting the icon on that player will be huge. Now, what's the downside to this? I did mention that there is a downside. If I've got a blitz that I know works a certain way and they are sending everybody out on a route and somehow blocking it, my hunch is going to be, okay, well, they just told their offensive line to untarget my user. So if I know that I'm not a threat to the offensive line, this is usually something that means that I could probably manually rush, and you see that I come straight through. Now, it looks like they're going to block me, but they're really not. So a lot of players, what they're going to do is they're going to step towards the line. They're going to have that, oh, dang moment where they panic and like, oh man, I didn't expect to come straight through the line. When they see this, chances are they're going to finish the job the next time. So you might want to make sure that you have a pickup in your back pocket that can account for maybe the user also rushes, because I get the scent that my opponent is untargeting me, and I know that I can pick up a cheap sack by just running through the line because they're not looking at my user. I'll mix that in as well into my blitz scheme, and that can just make me more versatile. So having that counter punch to the counter punch is always important from a defensive perspective, but also knowing from an offensive perspective that your opponent might user rush you. Be prepared for that as well. So I'm going to get up out of here. Use the untarget feature. It is important. It is useful. It will work in Madden as well. So make sure that you guys are on it. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Until then, this is Zan. Get the lab and good luck.